I'm out in the driveway. My daughter's riding her bike. She's 6. My 3-year-old son's on his scooter. Yeah. We taught her to ride her bike on Sunday, and she's whipping around. And I'm sitting there, and I'm going, who are you? Like, what is this person? And look at this beautiful life that because of God and Alcoholics Anonymous and the men that came before me, I was afforded the opportunity to build. Whew.
Welcome to another episode of the Powerless to Powerful Recovery podcast. My name's Jason. I'm an alcoholic and addict. As always, our mission is to share experience, strength, and hope across multiple media platforms, the story of addiction and the road to recovery. We are not affiliated with Alcoholics Anonymous or any other 12-step based organizations or groups in any way, and we are back with another episode. My co-host, Ronnie No Matter What's here. What's up, Ron?
Here we go.
I mean,
is it Friday yet?
Is that a loaded question or statement? I want to say there's Friday? A lot of words.
Johnny, is it Friday?
Johnny's here. Shout out to Johnny Lazaro. But Ron, man, we're back in the studio again. And today's we have the man, the myth, the legend. Bobby Boykin is here. All-star in the recovery community. Steering committee of the Knights of the Round Table. That means he's super knighted. He's a super knight. He's a super knight. He he decides whose Habitat for Humanity, whose houses they're building in Rocky Point, which families they're sponsoring for Christmas, how many turkeys they're passing out, which H&I commitments, all the things. We might need to get him another H&I commitment at Desert Recovery Center.
Go.
Shout out to Desert Recovery Centers, the studio, to our marketing team and everybody. And we're back. Bobby, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, man. It's an honor to be here. I appreciate you guys for having me.
And most importantly, the executive director of Guiding Road. Shout out Mark North. Mark North was on the show, one of the founders of Guiding Road, and you're the man that makes the magic happen over there. And we had some time to talk before, and I speak that language, that stress, that go-getter mentality, the pivot, the master of the pivot.
Master of the pivot,
I'm learning more every single day. Bobby, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, man.
So if you can just give us a snapshot, just for all of our listeners, just a snapshot about Guiding Road, the levels of care that you have, because all of us, have I would like to say that Ron doesn't have lived experience and he's never been in recovery, or he's not a peer support and he's just got some degrees and he's got a passion to help others. But that's not typical, and that's not reality for most, and definitely not for you, right? We do this shit because we have an extreme passion to help others, and we've been able to navigate a way where we could also have some financial freedom, as well as pursuing our passion of helping others. So, Bobby, why don't you just give us a snapshot of Guiding Road, the levels of care, open beds, how they can get in touch with you, because we're much stronger together.
Absolutely. First off, we are much stronger together. It's just a powerful message, right? Everybody in this industry needs to come together and work as one unit, right? Therefore, that we can make we can do more damage, so to speak, in helping other peoples in this epidemic that is just taking out our community, which is really sad. So Guiding Road Recovery Center, we have 20 beds. We do PHP, we do IOP with supportive housing. We have a sober living. We're big on 12-step. We don't shy away from it. It's built into our curriculum. If the wheel ain't broke, why am I going to try and fix it, right? You have all these people that these days, they want these evidence-based practices, which is fair. I'll give it to you, fair.
Sure.
But what practice has more evidence than 12-step recovery of successfully changing men's lives?
Ron, you've been to court about 175 times, and every time of those 175 times, they want to send you to a 12-step meeting, right? And that's what's important, 100%. Right?
Yep.
County jail, there's 12-step meetings. You go to treatment, you want 12-step meetings, right?
Yeah.
You go anywhere on this planet, there's a 12-step meeting. I always tell this story. So it was before recovery. I'm on a cruise ship, all right, with my dad, my brother. We're both in addiction. Members of the recovery community now, and we're in a cruise ship, Carnival Cruise Line. It's spring break, dude. It's going down, right?
Let's go.
And I'm moseying my way, smoking a cigar, moseying my way to the club, and I'm not even 21 yet. It doesn't matter. International waters, 18 years old, fake IDs, all the things. It doesn't even freaking matter. What's important though is as I'm walking to that club, and this is in 2006, 50 Cent, or not 2006, 2004, whatever 50 Cent In the Club just came out. Get Rich or Die Trying on the loop, on repeat, right? Yeah. And I remember I'm walking to this club and I walk by this cigar lounge and I look on the door and I see his papers taped to the door. It said Friends of Bill W. Tonight, 7 p.m. And walking by, I go to myself, fucking Bill W., dude, throwing a party, dude. Didn't connect the dots, didn't put it together, but it just goes to show in the middle of the ocean, on a cruise ship, on a party cruise ship, there's 12-step meetings because the book insists on one thing, enjoying life and having fun. And we get to do all that sober. But you're right. And I love how you don't shy away from that. Do you have H&I? Can you talk a little bit more about how you incorporate that in there?
Yeah, we have H&Is that come in. So we actually assign sponsors to our clients. Right. And why is that? A lot of people go, well, I want my own sponsor. I want to figure this shit out on my own. But what I notice that is sometimes a barrier, right? Where they go, no, I got to find the perfect sponsor that's just like me. And I'm like, no, dude, you need to find the fucking polar opposite of you. You know what I mean? Because you're a terrorist kind of dude. Yeah. And so, we assign sponsors, but we're very picky in who we assign. We assign sponsors that we know, like I said, it's built into the curriculum. So in order to graduate and step into IOP, they need to be on their 9th step. Right. And so we have to assign sponsors that we know will get them going.
Otherwise, they spend 90 days just speculating about a possible sponsor.
Right.
And, because the book talks about it. A few are fortunate to be so situated, they can give nearly all their time to this work. And every client at Guiding Road, every client at Desert Recovery Centers, all of us when we got sober, especially me in the middle of an 8-year prison sentence with no TV, I had one earbud because I tried to pop a socket in the hole like MacGyver. I don't even know how to change a flat tire, but I'm popping sockets. Yeah. Right. And I was fortunate to be so situated, I can focus all my time. Ron, what do you think about that? Because I know that, I know we've talked about that occasionally, and we've assigned, you're working with my sponsee. I don't have the time. This is your sponsor. We are firm believers in everyone needs a damn sponsor. Get a temporary sponsor. But what are your thoughts? What do you think about that?
I love that. I think it's a great idea. We're experiencing that a little bit. I'm seeing it firsthand. I work up at the prison on the weekends, and collectively the group of men that are up there have had limited exposure to the 12 steps. And the biggest barrier that we hear is, I don't know how to get a sponsor, or I'm waiting for the perfect sponsor, or I need to find someone who's definitely not going to talk because I don't want them to talk. All the barriers that come along with it. And I think that's just a great idea. Here you go. Here's your sponsor. Because back in the day, if you go back to basics, you got assigned a sponsor as you walked in the room.
Absolutely.
You would come into the room and there'd be a panel of guys who already went through the Back to Basics program. And that's the way it was designed. That was the way Dr. Bob designed it. And you came in and, you don't know him. And that's going to be the guy that you're going to work the steps with.
Right.
And you're going to have this experience. And down the road, you can have another experience. When you find somebody, if this person you don't connect long-term with, well, you connect with somebody else and you have more. Because I think all of us have had multiple experiences by multiple sponsors and people taking us through the steps, right? It's not a one and done. And that's one of the things that we try to push that message. And I just love it. I want to say real quick, quietly, you guys are making a lot of noise in the recovery community as a whole. I hear so many amazing things about Guiding Road. From alumni, individuals that come by and check out the facility. I haven't been over there yet, but soon I want to get over there and check it out. I hear nothing but great things. But you guys are making a huge difference, so it's a big deal.
Well, first and foremost, come on down, my guy. You know what I mean?
I will.
Let's hang out.
He keeps me pretty busy.
Yeah.
So
come on now.
I got to whip and dip on him and shoot over there.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you, man. That means a lot to us.
That's
you know
awesome,
what I mean? Just to also touch on this a little bit, we do a recovery barbecue every Thursday night where everyone in the recovery community is invited to our clinic for the barbecue. And what is the point of this? Is to build that foundation of the recovery community within our clients before they graduate.
Yes.
Because how many times, I know for me, I could sit there, we'll get into this, but I went to treatment a lot. Yeah. And we could get into this and it's and I would be leaving treatment and I'd be like, okay, so they told me all these things to do, but I walk out and I go, I don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because that's what they talk about. They say, okay, which we preach this all the time, and it's part of the foundation of our own recovery, which is the 5 non-negotiables, if you will, of recovery. That's a sponsor that you talk to, right? That knows he's your sponsor, and you're in communication. That's a sponsee, at least one in the book, actively in the book, minimum of one. A service commitment that you keep engaged with. A home group for accountability, dude, that becomes your team and your guys. If you're not there, they come find you. If you say, how are you doing? Good. And they know you're full of shit, they're going to be like, you're full of shit.
Full of shit.
Yep. And that's why that's so important. And then ultimately, you know, having an H&I and having the service commitment. You keep those 5 things in check: meetings, sponsor, service commitment, H&I, home group. You build your life off those 5 things. It's a recipe for success every single time. Absolutely. But the majority of the time, here they are, we're getting ready to discharge, or they're meeting with Johnny, and we're setting up their plan for success, and they don't have any of those 5 things yet.
Nothing.
And they're just going to flip the switch when they get out.
They don't even know what a meeting looks like, like outside of the facility.
For sure.
Right?
For sure.
They know what that meeting looks like, but they haven't experienced going out to the nights or going to the spot for a meeting, or going to the park, or a backyard meeting, a bonfire. Like, I see people, they're like, when you take them to those meetings for the first time, they're like, oh my God, this is what it is? Yeah. You know, sitting around a bonfire out in Buckeye. Yeah. Having a meeting on a Saturday night.
Yeah. We take our guys to outside meetings every day. Yeah. They go to the nights every single Thursday, right? It's to me, there's a bunch of things that I could sit here and argue what is the most important piece, but that community and that foundation in recovery, I think, might be the most important piece.
Important. It is the connection. We have to have that connection outside of our wives. Because I'm not going to call my wife and tell her I'm thinking about doing butt rockets today on the way to work. But I'll call you, Bobby. I'll call Ron. And
call me anytime.
Where you at? Where are you doing? Let's play the tape through. What happens on Thanksgiving when mom pulls that turkey baster out? How's that going to make you feel? Right? Right? There's a lot, and through that process, we're able to, have the best outcomes and respond to life and not react any longer.
I'd probably tell my wife, I don't know how happy she'd be about it. But,
she's still here, right?
She's still here. Yeah.
But her solutions are going to be
different. Which is a miracle in and of itself. I just want to point that out.
That is very, very.
But what if it's about her, right? Being able to have, I go to this men's group in the mornings, and I love it. It's called How Bad Do You Want It?
Oh yeah.
And those group of dudes, they have they do something I've never seen at all the meetings I've been to in my time. Is every morning when towards the end of the meeting, someone gets up and writes all the names of the people that were in the meeting, and then a member of that group who wasn't there, they assign you to them for you to send them a text and let them know you love them.
That's powerful, man.
Yes, like, powerful. That's the juice.
Man, when I get those texts, it's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge. It's like,
it's
okay,
huge.
I better get back to my group.
What is it? It's a layer of accountability.
That's it.
100%.
Right?
Yeah. And as 3 individuals that know the power from the knowledge comes from the application of it, dude, the steps is a life book. Everybody on the planet should work the steps. It's designed for you to be the best version of yourself. Work on the selfishness, work on the resentment that's based off your own actions. Stop living in fear because your actions aren't feeding any of your fears. Living on God's sufficiency, realizing how to have a healthy relationship through a sex inventory and interdependency, and realizing that you've never seen one, never had an example of one. How do you expect to have one, right? We got to make some changes. So it gives us the whole blueprint to have accountability and take ownership of our fucking life again, dude.
For sure. For sure. The healthy relationships. Wow. I'm so glad you hit on that because, like, for me, I get sober and I don't know what a healthy relationship looks like, including a healthy friendship.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because, like, when you get into like definitions of friendship, it says that jealousy is absent. Right. But like when I'm in these friendships and I'm active in my addiction, I'm dishonest, I'm selfish, I'm manipulative, I'm jealous, I'm all these things. It's not even a true friendship.
No. And I love talking about the steps. It's all about, everything is relationships, right?
Absolutely.
And the steps are relationships. You can look at it. Steps 1, 2, and 3 is designed for you to develop a relationship with God. 4, 5, 6, and 7 is you to develop a relationship with self. 8 and 9 is your relationship with others. 10 is your main relationship with self. 11 is the main relationship with God. And 12 is the main relationship with others.
Right.
Our disease at its core is selfishness, right? God's will is selflessness. Let's not make it rocket science.
No.
Okay.
No.
So whose action am I feeding in? Right now, I'm of service. I'm in God's will.
Amen.
Now we've connected those dots. So now it's my job to design my day around experiencing God as much as I can to win more moments than I lose every single day. And through that process and the consistency of it, I have a psychic change. So when I see a good father, brother, husband, son, and friend looking back at me, step 11 upon awakening and retiring at night, when I see that type of man looking back at me, I don't want to change the way I feel. And that's how you've been sober for so long. That's how Ron, just shout out to Ron, 11 years. He celebrated 11 years on the 14th. Continuous.
Yeah, nights and weekends included, man.
Is Demi Lovato's sobriety included in there in any way, shape, or form?
I tried that previously.
Okay.
And it didn't work.
It didn't work?
Not for me.
That's odd.
But every journey starts somewhere, Bobby. We want to get into your journey. We want to hear about, how we got to this point, where the passion really comes from, and that drive just to inspire, motivate, uplift, and help others. And so you were born in Birmingham, Alabama.
Let's go.
Birmingham, Alabama.
Shout out Bama. Tide, roll Tide?
Absolutely not. Go Gators.
Go Gators.
Them Gator boys stay hot.
Oh.
Just pulled in a natty.
Ooh, they did.
Yeah, 8 days ago.
Let's
go.
Brother.
First one since 07. It
I
felt
know,
good.
since Noah.
Joaquin.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Noah,
I know a little
Horford,
bit.
Brewer.
I know a little bit.
man.
A few busts in the draft.
It created some issues
It
growing
did.
up. I became a Gator fan at a very, at about 7 years old.
How does that happen? How does one become a Gator fan from being born in Alabama, growing up in Phoenix? I didn't hear Florida in your story.
No.
Where does that come from?
Well, I had another side of my family that lived in the state of Florida.
Okay.
But really what happened, and so my entire family growing up was Roll Tide. I mean, they bled crimson and white.
Birmingham.
And, my grandfather was highly involved in the football program and different things going on there, right? The visiting locker room at the Alabama football stadium is named after my grandfather.
Oh, wow.
And I go Gators at like 7 years old. Created some issues, man. You know what I mean?
Few.
But listen, that blue and orange is just prettier.
Yeah.
Let's be honest here. No, I watched Emmitt Smith, man.
Yeah.
Hooked.
Yeah.
At a very young age. I watched Emmitt Smith, dice up Bama's defense, and I loved going to my grandmother's in Florida. I liked the beach, and I was hook, line, and sinker at 7 years old. Very to an unhealthy extent as well. Like, I mean, I would cry snot tears in like 7 years old if Florida loses a football.
My wife still has to remind me that I do not play for Chelsea Football Club. I even put my boots on sometimes. I even lace the cleats up when I'm watching games on Saturday.
My wife always goes, "Why do you say we?"
Yeah,
You just don't get it.
yeah, you don't
sweetheart.
understand.
All right,
You don't understand.
It's us. We.
And so, you were born in Birmingham, but you came out here right away. So why don't you kind of just talk about a little bit about what it was like growing up, the family dynamic, your parents, siblings, moving from Alabama, coming out here, and just kind of give us a snapshot of that time period.
Well, I don't really remember the move, right? But what I do know is that growing up in my family was not easy. I had both of my parents struggled with this disease, and it eventually took both of their lives. And the thing about it was that my dad was physically abusive, emotionally abusive, verbally abusive. So you never knew what you were coming home to. And when you're a young kid, it's terrifying to go, you're walking home from school and you're going, okay, like what's going to happen tonight? Are we going to have like a nice family dinner, or am I going to get my ass beat, or is my dad going to beat the shit out of my mom?
Yeah.
I think the
Fear, those hidden rules: don't speak, don't ask, don't tell. What happened in the home stays in the home. Don't talk to the cops; they're here to take you from us.
Yep.
Don't tell your teachers what happens here because they don't, all those things, right?
The worst part about it, I think, and it's really sad because it still affects children today, is that it becomes your normal. I didn't think there was anything weird about that.
Alcoholic life seems the only normal one.
Absolutely, right? It was just normal to me. So why would I go to school after, my dad beat my mom up and talk about it? I wouldn't. I was like, it's just, daddies like to do cocaine, drink a lot of alcohol, and sometimes they get a little crazy, and that was just normal to me.
They're okay in the morning.
And they're okay in the morning. I will say, like, I had such a gnarly resentment towards my father when I got sober. And today my view on that is I feel really sad for him because he never got the help that he needed. Yeah. Because like, why do we get to latch on to this solution and these other people don't? Because we're blessed, right? Because God saw us fit to do this. And it's not that God doesn't see other people fit, but some people just don't latch onto the solution, right? And so, you know, my dad was a product of the environment he was raised in, right? With my grandfather being in the military and different things like that.
Different time too.
Different time, yeah. So, so it was wild, man. You know, it's not that it was always bad though. You know, Christmases were a beautiful thing in our family. You know, Easter, just different things. There were. It's not like it was all bad. There were good moments. It's just it really was dependent.
Disease of the, you know,
it was dependent on whether my dad was loaded or not.
Yeah.
A lot of the times. So, so that's what it was. It was gnarly.
And you're the middle child?
I'm the oldest.
Who's the oldest? Okay,
Yep.
so yeah, so there's so much that comes with that birth order. We're firstborns, you know. So
yeah. So, and my brother's actually 15 years younger than me. Same parents, 15 years younger. My sister's 5 years younger than me. So.
You're almost an only child, almost, kind of.
My sister and I were really close. Okay. My sister and I, and we still are.
That's awesome. Shout out to your sister.
Shout out to my sister, Liza. Let's go.
Yeah, let's go.
You know, she endured a lot as well. We all did. So it was really my youngest brother, Coulter, being born 15 years later. You know, it's the progression of the disease. So I think he had it the hardest.
Yeah.
Because the alcoholism,
so deep
drug
at
addiction,
that point,
at that point, 15 years of the progression. I mean, I feel for him. I love him deeply.
Yeah, I know. You know, and it's a lot. You know, you couple the family dynamic to parents that are in active addiction, and couple with the disease, the unspoken rules that we're learning at, the examples of what we see, and that's why when we sit down and we start to look at this 4-step and we go, holy shit, I've never seen a healthy relationship, nor have I ever had one, and how do I expect now to all of a sudden have a healthy relationship or fix one that I've already caused so much damage in?
Right.
You know, and Ron, and I'm curious because I know, you know, with everything that you're, you know, prayers for your father and everything that he's going through with all multiple surgeries, the strokes, the 2 open heart surgeries, being out in New York multiple times, you know, all the things that you've been through previously, working a program of recovery, letting go of your resentments and all those things, to now get to a point now where you're contributing to his life and just a different shining example. What's that been like?
Man, I can't even put words to it, right? I can't even put words to it. But what I'm going to get back and say, what I want to speak to is when I hear you say about as your child and that was your normal, the thing that a lot of people don't talk about, and that I came to this realization once I got sober, was it's the unspoken rules, but the narrative that I develop in my little brain, my coping mechanism of I'm not worth it, I don't matter, I'm not like these other kids that I see with their parents, and what I see is something different than what I'm getting at home. So all of a sudden I developed this narrative in my head that after a period of time, I believe that narrative.
Right.
And that's the part that I had a hard time shaking and even getting my feet moving in the right direction to do something about my problem, because I didn't matter and I wasn't worth it and I wasn't valuable. I was a throwaway, you know, in my head, even though I was showered with love.
Right.
They told me they loved me. Going back to what Jesus says, love is an action word.
It is.
Man, that's a crazy way to show you love me. Leave me by myself at 5 years old. That's a crazy way to show you love me, that you leave and you don't come back for 10 years.
Right.
And develop this narrative. And then as I got older, it just continued. And right now, being able to be responsible and accountable for my family, they're like blown away. Like they put me in charge of all my dad's finances and his legal decisions and his medical decisions. And my uncle called me and he's like, I can't believe it. Like, I can't believe that this is my nephew.
11 years ago, you didn't even have a house key, brother.
No.
What a beautiful thing, though, right? Like that. Like when you look at stories like this, like it's so beautiful because Alcoholics Anonymous gave you that,
100%,
right? And it's 100%. like old Ron. I'm not going to speak for old Ron, but I think I know old Ron pretty well because old Ron's a lot like old Bobby, right? You know what I mean? And I'm not that person.
Right.
I don't do that. I don't show up. I'm not reliable. I'm not trustworthy, all these things. But like Alcoholics Anonymous, look what, I mean, it's just such a beautiful thing.
Isn't it awesome? I think all 3 of us, 4 of us, Johnny over there too. Do you all have this experience that there's moments that we have throughout our day, then something happens and you go, maybe you glance at yourself in your mirror of your car or you catch a glimpse of yourself and you go, wow, this is wild.
Yeah.
Who is this?
Who is this?
Thank you. Like,
I had one last night.
Yeah.
Well, I'm out in the driveway. My daughter's riding her bike. She's 6. My 3-year-old son's on his scooter. Yeah. We taught her to ride her bike on Sunday, and she's whipping around. And I'm sitting there, and I'm going, who are you? Yeah. Like, what is this person? And look at this beautiful life that because of God and Alcoholics Anonymous and the men that came before me, I was afforded the opportunity to build. Whew.
Yeah. Dude, I go to my parents' house and just do yard work crying, dude. I'm just grateful that I get to contribute to their damn life for once. Dude.
And they let you over there.
Dude, I have a house key. They're gone for 45 days. You know what I mean?
That's a miracle as well.
Dude, I stole everything they ever had, dude.
Yeah.
Times 15.
Times 15.
You know, and it
He's
took
driving
all of
his
us.
mother's luxury car.
And you know, it takes all of us a time period to get that gift of desperation.
Right.
And Ron always talks about God wearing people clothes. And God speaks through every single one of us. And when I show up and I'm God-centered and I do my part, which is God's will to be of service to others, and my heart is open, I get to experience God through every single individual that crosses my path.
Right.
And if we're both on the same page at the same time, then we get to experience God together.
We do.
And that's the juice of the whole entire thing.
We
you know, but it took us a long time to get there, and it took you some time to get there too, because you started using at 12 years old. And now that I have a 13-year-old and I have a 3-year-old, now now I can really put shit into perspective.
Right.
So we're talking, you start drinking at 12 years old. You move back out to Phoenix, very young age. You basically grew up out here in Central Phoenix. So let's pick it up there. You first drink, 12 years old. How'd that make you feel?
Fucking amazing. Like, let's just call it what it is.
Too good.
It was way too good. Like, I remember it like it was yesterday. I remember I had these hot Smirnoff shooters, right? That I had stashed in the backyard in the middle of the summer. Because I'd stolen them from my grandmother in Florida. Yeah. I'd stolen them from her because she was a classy alcoholic. Yeah. And and I stashed them in the backyard. And so they've been baking in the 115-degree Phoenix weather, right? And I remember, and I had a couple friends over, and we were camping out in the backyard, and the other friends didn't want to drink it. They were like, this is gross and it's hot. And I killed it.
Yeah. No problem. More for me.
Right. And I remember going,
okay.
that first sense of relief,
sense of ease and comfort that comes by taking a few.
And here's the thing is, like, when you talk about first step stuff, right? Like, this is something I really have my guys do a lot, is that, like, if I really look into this, my life was unmanageable before I started using drugs and alcohol.
Yep.
It's just that drugs and alcohol became my solution
to the unmanageability.
To everything. Yep. Because the problem, though, was me.
Don't think, don't feel, don't care.
Don't care, right? And I remember I wasn't worried anymore about what my dad was going to do, or school, or girls at school, or sports, or it was just, I can chill. And it took off pretty quick from there. Then it was like, I found myself, we'd be over at a friend's house. It didn't matter if it was Tuesday, Friday, or Saturday, or whatever. His mom goes to the grocery store. I'll never forget it. And I'm in that liquor cabinet drinking peach schnapps, just guzzling it, right?
Filling it up with water.
Yeah, eighth grade. Yeah. Get my hands on some weed. Let's go. You know what I mean? And so my progression was, I don't know if it was different. I think about this a lot because it's just different nowadays. You got people that are 15, 16 years old on fentanyl, right? It's just on methamphetamines.
Totally new ball, totally different playing field out there.
It wasn't like that.
No.
In the mid-90s.
Because we're pretty much the same age.
We're pretty
early
much,
40s.
it wasn't like that. Like, it was like, okay, like, I'm going to party on the weekends. Maybe occasionally I'll drink during the week. I'll smoke some weed here and there. But I wasn't like banging dope in high school. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
and so I thought it was very normal. There's definitely some red flags there. Yeah. You know what I mean? When you're breaking into restaurants to steal alcohol and stuff.
And so when I always like to think of it, because we're 12-step guys, the doctor's opinion, we know all that. But I also like to look at, outside of the 12 steps, the 4-stage disease concept, right? And we all have that first stage where we're experimenting, right?
Right.
And then the second stage is the relief stage, relief drinking or relief using. So in that second stage is where we've associated drugs and alcohol with our emotions.
Yep.
Right? How many parties did we go to in high school with no alcohol or drugs?
That would be zero.
Zero, because it wouldn't be fun.
No.
Right? So now I've associated positive emotions with getting loaded. And then, of course, the negative emotions, it makes it even easier. Don't think, don't feel, don't care. So now I've I've experimented now to the point where I've associated with my emotions. Now consequences start to happen during this stage, which we're going to start to talk about here in a second, right?
Yeah.
And then what happens is what this Dr. Jelinek says, there's an imaginary invisible line in between the second and third stage. And once you cross into third and fourth stage, anytime you relapse, you go back to 3 and 4, stage 3 and 4.
Right.
Third stage being dependency, fourth stage being chronic. And every time I relapse, I'm back to the chronic stage. I'm homeless quicker, I'm dope sick quicker, everything is quicker because of progressive disease.
Right.
And so anytime we start to talk about what that progression was like, it always starts out like that. I had that. The same way I felt withholding nothing, illuminating every twisted character, every dark cranny of the past, withholding nothing. I could look the world in the eye. I could be alone at perfect ease. My fears fall from me when I did that fifth step because it's the same time like the first drink or drug.
Right. Because we get that sense of ease and comfort, as the book tells us, right? Today, without any substances, right? What is it? It's a lot of self-care. It's a lot of God, right? It's a lot of program. But like today, I don't need to be like, you know, like today just is, and it's a beautiful life that I get to live, you know?
Yeah. And so you end up moving out. So how does the move, all of a sudden your mom and dad are like, hey, we're going to Aspen, Sunshine State. You watch Dumb and Dumber and we're like, we're going to Aspen, Samsonite.
That's probably what we looked like coming in there. You know what I mean? Oh my gosh. No, like I was pissed. That's probably like when I look back on it is my first intense resentment. Like I had plans here in Phoenix. Like I'm graduating 8th grade. Like I want to go to high school with my family. Yeah, I got shit to do. Yeah. I got drugs to sniff. I got stuff to do. Yeah. You know, I had plans, and they're like, I remember they just hit me with it. We're moving to Aspen, Colorado, and I was like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? The thing about, so we move up there, and now so I'm going from a large city to a small town, and I didn't know anyone. I looked kind of weird. I'm just going to tell you what it is, right? I came from Phoenix. We're coming off that grunge phase. We're actually still in it. You know, I've got Doc Martens. I got a chain on my thing, and I go to this high school, and it's a bunch of fucking Grateful Dead hippies, and they're like, who is this guy, right?
Yeah, they don't like you right away.
No, but then I show up to a party with a bottle of vodka. I drink the whole thing, and I'm in.
Yeah, they love you.
They love me. The seniors were like, oh my gosh, look at this dude. He just drank a whole bottle of vodka, right? And so that was another moment in my life where I go, okay, if I feel uncomfortable and I feel like I don't fit in, alcohol.
I do this,
and I fit in.
I threw a party in 8th grade. My dad let me have an 8th grade graduation party, and the high school kids came to my party. My dad's one of us, so we had some beer. I don't think he intentionally bought it. Regardless, right? The high school kids came to my 8th grade party. I'd never been to high school, and in that moment, I became the man for the first time.
Yes.
And I tried to relive that fucking party for the next 20 years, bro.
Right.
Specifically 1997, sophomore year in high school, I tried to relive for 20 years, dude, because that's all my disease wants me to remember.
Sure.
Right.
So you land out there in Aspen, and then the progression of the drug starts to get greater. The weed and the alcohol turns into coke and acid and all the things.
Yeah, I really liked mushrooms a lot. You know, those hippies like their mushrooms too. So there was it was really like these, like we would drink every single weekend, right? You know, sometimes during the week, but I was smoking weed every day, eating mushrooms, occasional cocaine, things like that. Once again, in my head, I'm like, it's just normal. Everyone just parties. And also I come from a family that parties, so it's just normal, right? This is where I started to see the first consequences. Getting suspended from school for drinking at school. Should have been a red flag, you know what I mean? But I was like, oh, whatever. I know these kids did it too, and all that stuff. But, you know, I started actually getting in trouble. I started getting arrested a lot. Small town. Cops pull up to break up a party. They go, Boykin, don't move.
Doc Martens in the chain. They know what time it is.
Man, and you ain't making very good time running in snow in Doc Martens. Let me tell you, you slip all over the place. So, but yeah, I started. You know, I was in the judge's chambers probably once every 3 or 4 months. You know, I mean, I was at one point I robbed a restaurant, stole some alcohol. I vandalized the principal's house. Just hood rat shit. You know what I mean? In Aspen, if you want to call it hood rat shit. It's not really, but you know, I came from Central Phoenix, so you know. But you know, it was consequences. Now here's the thing: is that my parents didn't think that I was the problem. Maybe they did. They thought maybe I was a little bit of the problem, but they thought the main problem was that I was in a small town, right? And so there was actually one incident where it was like the tipping point in this, because I had gone to the judge's chambers yet again, and he said, if I see you again, you are going to go away until you're 18 years old. And that's just that, right? Cops show up to my house about a week later, and they go, hey, a bunch of computers were stolen from this house. and we know it was your son. And for the first time in my life, I was like, it wasn't me, and it really wasn't.
Yeah, it was like the one time it wasn't you.
Quite literally, the one time. The one time. And at that point, my parents moved me back to Phoenix for my senior year, and my aunt, who is just an angel, has been...
shout out to your aunt. Shout out Aunt Lou.
Yeah, my Aunt Catherine's just amazing. She let me move in with her, and she knew that the family dynamics were fucked.
Yeah.
And so she let me move in with her, and she has been a big piece of my life forever, and I'm just very, very, very grateful for her.
Big shout out to her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have an aunt and godmother who wrote me every single week while incarcerated, all 10 years, never missed a week, dude. You know?
Powerful, man.
It's those moments of gratitude, dude, that help me to get my feet moving a little quicker every day. Those are the motivating factors.
Right.
The kids, the wife who never gave up on us, the aunt who wrote me those are the motivating factors.
Right.
We do this shit because we're sick of feeling the way we feel.
Right.
And then the motivating factors are the kids. You know, when Bobby was talking about moving from Central Phoenix to Aspen, what it reminded me of is when you had 20 felony twos, the F2s, and we had to send Ron on the run, and we sent him to Ohio in the snow to work some little small town. I remember you
Clyde, Ohio, one stoplight.
He sends me a picture from like the 14th floor, it's snowing out, and I'm in my head, I'm like, this ain't gonna last very long. 45 days later, you get a knock on my door at 1 o'clock in the morning. Ron's standing there with his duffel bag. My wife's like, okay. That's what it reminded. Did it make you think of that too, kind of?
It did. I got snowed in there remember it was a state of emergency out there. I was snowed in.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was great, dude.
Yeah, good
It was
time.
great.
Yeah, it was me, a box of rigs, and 99 Suboxones. And in those 3 days, I shot 60 of those Suboxones. And when the snow went away and Brian showed up to get me, he was like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" I'm like, "I'm fine.
I'm doing real
fine.
good. Real good.
Real good.
Yeah.
You got
No food, no water,
Need the
just
leads,
Suboxone.
brother. Need the leads.
Yeah."
And so you come back out here and you go to Arcadia, and then I think it's just very common, you know, especially of men of our age, due to the in the 40s time period, you know, when they started to throw around pills for any sorts of injuries.
Yep.
You know, and that's really where my turn happened. You know, and you get into a fight, you're going to pick it up from there in a second. But same thing for me. Suffered a knee injury, got put on perks, jumped into a campfire, burned my whole arm trying to jump over with the hurt knee, got perks, and I could never get my life back until I found Alcoholics Anonymous and the gift of pain and desperation.
Right.
So you get into a fight and things change.
Yeah, I actually get into the fight right before I leave Aspen. I break my hand, and so I come out here. They put a plate and 4 screws in it. While I'm in my senior year, they decide to take the plate and 4 screws out. They give me a boatload of Percocets, right? To the point where I was like, okay, like, and I remember taking them and going, everything seems like it's in like HD, and I'm just like, oh man. And so I'm eating them every day before school. And I think, I'm gonna let you guys know, I'm doing so good in school. I'm super attentive. I'm killing it. And then the midterms come out and I'm failing everything. And I'm like, there's no possible way, right?
It's a misunderstanding.
No possible way. Then my senior year in baseball, I blow my knee out too. And so now it's just, I've got all these injuries, kind of like what you're talking about, man. You know, and what do? They just throw me Percocets. I mean, this is 1998, and they're passing them out like they're Skittles, you know? And so, you know, I was also way into the rave scene back then. I really liked my ecstasy and ketamine. And it was time to go. Like, let's go. Let's get on this train now, right? Yeah. There was no turning back.
Yeah, and now you've really hit next level, next gear. 6 gears, the only gear you want to hit from here on out, and then dependency kicks in, and you have to hit 6th gear to get out of bed.
You do,
you know.
You do.
And so, what sort of consequences start to come from all this? What sort of consequences are starting to pile up? Because I know you got a lot of county jail time piling up on you.
So 2019. Sorry, that's way off. 1999. I get an extreme DUI. I'm 19 years old, and I get an extreme DUI, and you know, I think I do a night. It was in Tempe. I do a night. Like, I had a bunch of drugs in the car. They didn't find them, right? You know, that was back in the day where we had like 2 12s in the back of the Jeep. We were rolling deep, man. And I had them all stashed in there. Yeah, you know. And I had them all stashed. They didn't find all the, like, I mean, I had ounces of weed. They didn't find it. So I get arrested. I go to jail that night. I ended up having to go back and spend like 48 hours in Tempe County Jail, which was like nothing. I mean, it's Tempe. Right. You know what I mean? And, But then
They got those pancake Lunchables in the morning over there in Tempe. I mean, I'm
living good.
Lots of blue paint going on over there.
Give me a pillow? Shit, you know? But then about 3 to 4 months later, I'm tweaking nuts. And I'm making, we had found a way, not we, but like there was a way to make fake IDs back then. It was really easy with a computer. Okay. Yeah. And so I was going out.
Laser printer, and nail polish remover.
Absolutely. You know?
Yeah, familiar.
Yeah, dude. So I'm going out to Santa Barbara to visit one of my cousins. And it's her birthday, and her and I have always been super, super close. And so I'm going from Phoenix to there. I decide to snort a little bit of meth before I go. And I have a tiny little bit of meth still in the baggie just for like, okay, we get halfway there, we're gonna do some more meth, then I'll re-up in LA. Yeah. Right. I got some people in LA where I can get some dope from. So I have a weed pipe, actually like a big ass bubbler. Yeah. You know, I don't know why I was traveling with it, but I was. Yeah. I had some weed, a bubbler, I had some methamphetamine on me, and about 18 fake IDs that I was gonna drop in LA on my way to Santa Barbara. And I get pulled over and I get, you know,
yeah, they don't like that shit.
They didn't like it. I got hit with a bunch of shit. A lot of felonies on that one. You know, the possession of dangerous drugs, but really the big one was the felony forgery. Yeah. That's not a good thing to have on your record. No. You know, I end up spending a couple nights. This is on my way, so it was in Parker in La Paz County Jail. And they got a lot of gang activity in there because it's so close to the border, and you got the Colorado River right there and all this stuff. And so that was my first introduction to big boy jail, I think. Yeah. Go back to court, all this shit, and they give me a 60-day sentence. I go and do my time at 19 years old, and it's wild because the first time I smoked crack was in that county jail. Like you lock me up, and I still find a way to. I'm huffing paint thinner. Yep. I'm huffing paint thinner. I'm smoking crack. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like. And I'm doing real good. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Tell Mom on the phone,
lock me up. You lock me up. I can't get out, and I still get high, and I try new drugs. Yep. We got a problem here.
Yeah, and I know Ron can attest to it too. I mean, it didn't matter where I was ever in prison. It didn't matter if I was in the hole on a 5-yard. Still, when they passed out trays, if you wanted dope, you could have got it at next meal pass. Right. Anywhere you want, any point in time, you can get anything you wanted across our prison system, dude. Yeah. You live with your drug dealers. Right. Right. And so ultimately, what I think is just very impressive about your story is just always, anytime we've ever relapsed or we relapse and our clients relapse, we all believe we can read each other's minds. We believe everyone's disappointed. We believe everybody's judging us. Right. And we have all these false narratives that we've created in our mind that prevents us from picking up that call, picking up that phone and making that call, going back to the meeting, calling our old sponsor, getting in touch with the guys at the Knights, getting in touch with Chris, right? And the guys, right? That will answer the phone. Right. It just takes so much for us to get there and so many different opportunities to finally make it. So what has that been like? Because relapse is a pretty big part of your story. The only thing that changes is a date. Right. It doesn't take away from anything you've learned or any of those things. I just really want that message to be conveyed. Absolutely. Because now you go on this time period from I guess we could say from 99 to 2018. Yes. Where you're relapse, in and out of treatment. And in the midst of probably your sickest relapse of all, you graduated from the Walter Cronkite School of Business with fucking honors. In the midst of all that, that's confusing.
It's a little confusing. Yeah, right. It really lends to an issue of saying that my life is unmanageable. You know what I mean? And that's I can admit I'm powerless, but
how unmanageable is I got honors.
Yeah, I'm smart.
So why don't you pick it up in there? You get back out here and you land in treatment for your first time, 22 years old. Let's start there.
22 years old in treatment. I remember walking in. And I'm on a sick. I'm shooting heroin at this time, and a lot of heroin, right? And I remember getting there and. Now we're looking at 2002. There's not quite. We're starting to breach into that opioid epidemic and that crisis that is still currently happening today. Yep. But it was, I get there and I'm the only person shooting heroin in this treatment center in Los Angeles, right? Going in for shooting heroin, and there's no such thing as Suboxone back then. Yeah. There's no such thing. They throw you a couple Tylenol. Yeah. You know what I mean? And maybe some Robaxin. And, and you're cold kicking like train spotting style. You know what I mean? And it was rough. And my poor fucking mother, I'll never forget it. She came out, flew out to Los Angeles and sat in that room with me for 5 days while I kicked heroin with like no meds. And I just remember I would occasionally pop up and she'd be crying, just trying to get me to eat something. And that poor woman, I just can't believe I put her through that. It breaks my heart, you know. But so we have our first experience. I remember I go to my first AA meeting. I get to read the pool rules on the wall, and I see God in there a lot, and I got an issue. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do this. I had a
major resentment
towards God. And so what I do in that moment is I go, listen, here's the deal. Just no heroin and no meth and we'll be good. You know what I mean? We'll drink, we'll smoke some weed. Cocaine doesn't count anymore when you've shot meth. So like, we're good. You know what I mean? And so, but the thing is like, that's my story. I go in and out of these treatment centers. I fall flat on my face over and over and over again, thinking I can just smoke weed or just drink a little bit here and there. And it took me, I'm talking up until, you know, my sobriety date is July 16 of 2018. Up until then, like I would pop out of these treatment centers, even though I'd failed 15, 16 times and think that I can drink and smoke weed.
Yeah.
I don't, you know, it's just this, we romanticize that one day, you know what I mean? I can drink like a gentleman.
All I remember is 1997, sophomore year in high school, when I had fun.
Yes.
And I forget all the time it talks about, you know, we can't bring into our memory sufficient force the suffering and humiliation of even a week or a month ago were without defense.
Right.
I forget the prison sentences, the showers and UAs in Alhambra, shit and softballs, how good it feels to be a father, right? How good it feels to pick my kids up from school, tuck them into, how good it feels to keep my head high and you know, be respected again, be trustworthy by my family.
Right.
I forget all that shit. And all I remember is fucking when it was fun. And I also got to remind myself consistently that heroin fucking cured my alcoholism.
Yes, it did.
Because I couldn't afford to drink.
No, right? And I don't want to drink when I'm shooting dope, to be honest with you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's fucked up. I had somebody one time tell me, they go, you know how we know that you're on heroin? I'm like, what? And they go, you don't drink. Whoa.
That's how we know.
That's how we know.
That's how we know.
That's how we know. If you're not drinking alcohol, it means you're on heroin.
Yeah.
Like that's, I mean, and the fucked up part is they were right.
You're right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And then the cool part about it is every single time I went to treatment or I went to county jail and I had all these good ideas, right? Because goals you don't achieve are called good ideas.
Yes.
I had a bunch of good ideas, never achieved any of the goals. And then I would tell my mom or my wife, I'm going to do this and I'm doing this, or lying to them about all these meetings and sponsorship that I'm doing in prison. I don't even have a sponsor yet. Right. And then I don't think, you know, there might be some individuals would be like, yeah, well, I knew I was going to come back and I wanted to come back. Like, okay, whatever, dude.
Yeah.
But none of us want to go back. And all of us are saying we don't want to fucking come back.
Yes.
Yet we haven't changed anything and yet we end up back.
Right.
Right. And so you go in and out and we're talking, you know, I guess a big pivotal moments in 2006 with your father, you know, because that really kind of flipped the script and kind of changed the game where, you know, you didn't take your foot off the gas pedal at all any longer. It was just a brick on the gas pedal and you were just going 100 miles an hour every which way. So what was that time period like? Because, you know, you lost both your parents to this disease.
Right.
Right. And so how do you cope with that? How do you know, today, how do you live with that? But in that moment, where did it send your life?
Okay, so in that moment, I'll never forget receiving that phone call. In that moment, like I was actually like, okay, listen, in my eyes, back in 2006, I'm doing pretty good because I haven't stuck a needle in my arm in about a year, right? Now I'm drinking and smoking weed every day and I'm doing cocaine and you know what I mean? But like in my eyes, I'm doing better than I was, right? You set the bar low.
Yeah.
It's not hard to do better. And I'm about to go out. I'm about to go hit up Old Town Scottsdale. I'm going to go get one. You know, I'm living in Old Town Scottsdale with my buddy Brad. Yeah, I was going to go.
Mickey's
There was a place,
Hangover.
Mickey's Hangover. That's
Mickey's
where
Hangover.
That's where we
We're
lived.
the same
there.
age, yeah.
Yeah.
Open till 5 a.m., brother.
Let's go. Yeah. Good food. You know what I mean? And I remember I'm getting ready to go out and I get a phone call and it's my aunt, the one I was talking about. And she said, hey, are you with anyone? I need you to sit down. And I said, like, what's going on? And she says, your father jumped off a building in Palm Beach, Florida and took his own life.
Oh, wow. He committed suicide, huh?
Yeah. And so what happened in that moment was what I know how to do. I went and got some OC80s. You know what I mean? And for those of you that don't know out there, that was the shit back in the day.
then they were.
You know what I mean? And so I went and got some OC80s and then, you know, and I start getting high. That's what I do. That's my only solution to everything. It's the only thing I know how to do. When I feel pain and I feel uncomfortable, I get high. And you know, and I had to go, my brother had one of his little school carnivals. He was about he was about 9 or 10 years old, something like that. But he was at one of his little school carnivals that they have at these places. I had to go pick him up. I had to take them home, and I had to tell my siblings that their dad had committed suicide. I think telling my little brother that I remember it like it was yesterday. I was telling him that,
my God.
and I remember him going, no, it's not true. It's not true. And it killed me. Right. And I don't know I can't sit in pain like that in that time frame. Back then, no, I'm numbing this out, right?
Yeah. Prior to recovery, all we know is we know how to identify a problem,
right?
And then all we know is how to make that problem worse,
right?
New charges, new case. I wish my parents never bailed me out, because every time they bailed me out, I caught a new charge. I never got my fucking life together. I never saved money to put my kids in a better position.
Never.
I picked up new cases and made the time longer.
Yes, we did. That's what we do.
You know, and that's what happened. You know, and so now here we are, where you're in active addiction. You're the oldest sibling, and the responsibility that comes with that. You're also laying out the communication, right? And you also are suffering from active addiction.
Yes.
So if you want to talk about a reason to justify some shit, I mean, you probably got the biggest justification
that
there
was
is.
it. That was it.
Used to, if you're going through what I was going through.
100%. So, because I'm so sick in the head that what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my dad's suicide to have an excuse to get loaded.
Yeah.
I'm going to use this as a manipulation tactic. So what are you going to say to me? Yeah, I'm on heroin again.
Yeah.
What are you going to say to me? My dad committed suicide.
And then you get some people, right? And you're like, poor Bobby.
Oh, yeah.
Poor Bobby.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's all they need to hear. Say poor Ron one more time.
Because I'm
this.
sick, man. I'm sick in the head. I'm sick spiritually. I'm sick. And it's like, it was in the time when I'm active in my addiction, I don't go, oh my gosh, I'm using my dad's suicide as a manipulation tactic. I'm just getting loaded, right?
Yeah.
I'm getting gassed. But then I get sober and I go, oh my God, I'm so sick,
sponsors
dude.
like actually do play a part. And
do
your
play a
part
part.
is using it as a justification for the last 25 years to continue to run your life into the
Plays
ground.
right into my character defects. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, I think all of us can sit here and say we're master manipulators.
Sure.
That's what I do. I'm a pro. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I still manipulate in fantasy football. It works well. I get what I want. You know?
Definitely take that quarterback first round, first pick, brother.
For sure.
Definitely need to do that.
We need to get him off the board. Yeah.
And so, but during this period of time, so this is from 2006 to basically 2012, where you're just on, you're doing all the things, but you're also going to college, dude. You go to college, you graduate with honors, you get a big degree. Can you share about what it was like shooting heroin while doing your fucking anatomy?
Yeah. So Walter Cronkite School of Journalism at ASU. I had always wanted to be a writer. My great-grandfather is in the Alabama Sports Writers Hall of Fame. I'd always wanted to be a writer. I was obsessed with Howard Stern. Shout out to Howard Stern.
Yeah, shout out Howard Stern.
You know what I mean? Come on now. And I wanted to, I just was obsessed. I found radio so interesting, and I loved sports, and I loved journalism. And once I realized there was never going to be another Howard Stern, there's, you know, he's very unique. And I said, okay, let's do sports. But going to school, school comes easy to me. I maybe bought 3 books the whole time. I shoot dope. I show up to class. I take notes. I take breaks and I go shoot dope in the bathroom. I don't know. Like it's weird to, it's one of those things where it's just like, I don't know, but I did it. You know what I mean? And then, and then I get a job working in the sports journalism industry. And I think I'm doing pretty good. Yeah. Am I shooting heroin? I mean, I would preloading rigs when I go to work, right? I would bring 3 rigs to work and I would put them in my backpack. Bottle of Xanax, mandatory. Yeah. And I would bring my backpack in and I'd work at this radio station. And, eventually I'm getting promotions at this station. And, I'm reporting on, I'm doing, high school football recruiting specialist for the state of Arizona and doing all this stuff. And I'm going on air on Friday nights and different things. And I'm shooting a shot of dope before I go on air. High functioning drug addict, you know what I mean? Which is maybe more dangerous.
Gift and a curse, But when someone like yourselves, individuals like ourselves sitting here, when we find recovery and God enters into our heart and performs that miracle, coupled with our action of that 50-50 relationship with the drive and intelligence that God gifted us with, dude, we become an unstoppable force to help others, dude.
And here's the thing is like, I've never met a smarter group of individuals than the men that I have met in Alcoholics Anonymous.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
100%.
It's bonkers. And a group of dudes that just have the best wives ever. I don't know how we landed that, but we did.
We did. We
really did.
So blessed. But there was 1 month where I don't know if you would call yourself blessed, but in that 1 month time period, that's all culminating into that gift of pain and desperation. I don't know. I think there was like 3 or 4 detoxes, 2 residential stays, all in a 30-day time
30
period.
days? That's
You were
pretty
just
good.
really doing some research for your profession you have now today, really understanding the ins and the outs of the intake
I'm glad
process.
you understand what I was
I
doing.
understand the
Development.
foresight. I tell my mom I was building a resume, Mom.
She
Jokes
hates
on
it when you say that, Jim.
Yeah, not funny. She still
knows.
doesn't think
No,
it's
no,
funny.
no.
Yeah.
You know, and so ultimately
Too soon.
during that period of time, right? You know, I would like to say that was the time period where you did those detoxes, you did that 30-day treatment or whatever it was in that time period, and then that was the switch. But it wasn't. Even through 17 treatment centers, in and out, trying multiple times, the relapses, the successes while in addiction, you know, detoxes, all those various things, and you still relapse one more time.
Yes. I'm
Right.
not, I'm sitting in there.
Yeah.
I've done these detoxes. Like, so I go in, I'd relapsed on heroin at this point. I go in, I kick heroin and they send me with a subscript. Right. And then I get out and I go, man, like I need to get off this sub. Just, that was my personal thing. I needed to get off it, but I'm also drinking copious amounts of vodka, like a handle a day. And so I go back in, I'm like, no, I just need to get off the sub. And they're like, I think you have an alcohol problem. You know what I mean? When I checked in, I tested positive for benzos, cocaine, opiates, and alcohol, right? Like they were like, how are you still alive? One of those things. Well, I drove here.
Yeah.
You know, we're doing pretty
It's
good
Tuesday.
today.
Yeah.
It's Tuesday. Yeah. No, it was messed up. Like it was Friday. I remember it was Friday. I know it was Friday because I knew their schedule. I knew they got pizza delivered on Friday. So I check in on Fridays. Like that's how sick it is, right? Like I know your schedule. I know your food schedule.
Like chef salad on the yard, huh, brother?
So yeah, I'm not joking. It's like I get out and I go, okay, only alcohol. And so I drive straight to the liquor store when I get out. And before I even get home, I'm drunk again.
Yeah, that
You know?
fast.
It's
And that's
like-
not the first time that on the way home from graduating from a treatment center that you got loaded.
Yeah.
You know, but this time was different though, right? And this time was different.
This
And
time was different.
So why don't you share why it was different and why this time became that launching pad, not the landing pad for your life, but the launching pad that's given you the beautiful life you have today.
It got very, very dark.
Yeah.
Now I'm drinking a handle of vodka every day before about 4 or 5 p.m. I mean, I'm on it. I'm doing
good.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty-
it's pretty good. I'm from Alabama. Man. We know how to drink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm doing it's just dark. All I can think about is how much I hate myself. I can't even look at myself in the mirror. No one wants to talk to me anymore. Like my aunt and these cousins I'm so close to my cousins. I love them so much. No one wants to see me. No one wants to answer the phone. I'm not allowed on family vacations anymore. I'm not allowed over for Christmas. You know, my mom answers the phone because she was just an angel.
Yeah.
My sister and brother would answer the phone, but I don't think they really wanted to be honest with you. Yeah. Outside of that, I got nothing. I got no one. And really, I would sit in my car on a daily basis with a 9mm in my lap.
Yeah.
I think the only thing that kept me from doing that is that being that we had dealt with a suicide in our family before, I didn't feel like I could put my mother through that again, or my siblings. And so I'm calling a dude at night. You know, about a month and a half goes by of this, and I'm calling a dude every night. And I was just finally, what was the launching pad? I was finally beaten down and broken enough to where I was willing to do anything. I was willing to do anything to never feel that way again. I ask my guys that a lot. What are you willing to do to never feel this way again? And if they say anything, I say, cool, I want you to sign this piece of paper, because when I hit you with some shit that you say I don't want to do, I'm going to remind you of this moment, right? But I was willing to do anything. I was willing to do anything.
Yeah, and so and that's what you did. So big shout out to Chris Aiken.
Yes,
big shout out to him. You know, and I love what you said when we were talking about it before. You know, because it's one of the biggest things when guys we speak, we go to meetings, service commitments, we speak. People want us to sponsor them. We know how important that is. We know that you come to meetings to be a sponsor, not a sponsee, right? We know all the things, right? That's what we're here for,
right?
And so I immediately want to just say yes to everybody.
Right.
Knowing in my damn head, there's no way I could possibly physically, there's not enough time to even do this. And then I create a resentment towards you.
Absolutely.
For me saying yes. Right?
For me saying yes. Yeah. That's exactly how it works.
And that, you know,
Right.
and that's how it works. Right. But But at some point, dude, centering into service, centering into the book, getting a sponsor, surrendering to this program gives us the ability to do all those things and have a luxury problem where you're creating resentment because someone wants your help and they see something in you that they want. Right. But it took a minute to get to that point. So you get in touch with Chris, and the reason I brought him up is because he answered the phone for you.
He answered the phone.
And you knew he was going to answer the phone.
Yeah.
And that you're speaking to me right now saying answer your goddamn phone when people call because they call you because they need you to pick up the phone.
Speaking to myself as well,
yeah.
right? You know what I mean? Sometimes we get so caught up in the day-to-day, and I forget about the fact that had Chris not been picking up the phone, like I don't even know if I'd be here today.
Yeah.
There's a really good chance I wouldn't, right? I would call him
And that's
almost
what it makes
nightly,
me think. That's what makes me a good reminder.
crying,
Yeah.
drunk as hell, just crying. I didn't know what to do. He's the only person I knew that had substantial sobriety at the time, and so I would call him, and he would answer, and he would just listen. You know, and I'm forever indebted to him, right? In the sense that I need to do that. I need to do what
for
he
others.
did
That's
for me,
the debt
right?
that we have.
That's the debt we have.
It's the same, like the same men who drove to Florence prison to open up the door on Christmas Day, Christmas Eve for years and years, hour each way.
Yep.
It's the same thing. I'm responsible to those men to open the door for others, dude. And that's what we continue to do.
Yeah.
And so your life immediately starts to change. Why? Because you get the non-negotiables of your recovery in check.
Right.
You get a service commitment, a home group, a sponsor. You start getting the books. Shout out to the Knights. If anyone has anything to say about the Knights, you look at your own inventory, dude, because you don't know anything about them and what they do over there, because it's phenomenal group of men. It's top notch. And I'm talking to someone who stole from them and had a resentment toward that for a long time. And so living in reality is they do a bunch of amazing things, of spectacular men involved in this group. So why don't you pick it up from there of just the shift with working a program, running through the steps, sponsoring others, service commitments, the Knights, and just pick up that recovery journey when you were given that gift that's completely revolutionized your life.
It's wild because it happens so fast, right? Like people, the book says it happens sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. My experience is that when I dive in head first and I do everything, it happens very quickly. So, I get out and I go to a few meetings occasionally, and not occasionally. I'm going to a meeting every day for like those first 12 days. And I didn't like them. I gotta be honest, I hated it. I hated it. I also didn't have a sponsor, right? I was calling Chris, but like he's out of state. But anyway, so I go and I get a sponsor. I see I'm about to quit AA. I've done it for 12 days. It doesn't work. You guys.
It doesn't work for me.
It doesn't work. I have not picked up a book. I am not being of service. I'm not doing anything. But listen, I tried, guys, and it doesn't work. I'm going to go to one more meeting. It's a Sunday morning meeting at Crossroads East. I go to that meeting and Mark Hilfinger shares. And God put Mark there on that day for a guy like me to hear his message. And I asked Mark to sponsor me, and he put me to work. He goes, well, it just so happens that today is the business meeting for this group. This is now your home group. Go get a service commitment. Read the book. You're going to come to Tuesday night men's stag, and I'm going to see you on Thursday. Call me every day. And the thing is before, I would have never said yes to that. I would be like, dude, you're crazy. I'm just trying not to get loaded, man. You know what I mean?
I'm on probation, brother.
Yeah, dude. You're a little crazy here, my guy. But I did it, right? And that was that point in my life where the willingness starts to grow. There was just a smidge of willingness, and I start saying, okay. And I start saying, okay, and I start doing the work. And what happens is my life changes dramatically. I mean, I do a fourth and fifth. I started sponsoring dudes at like 30 days sober. Yeah. You know what I mean? He said, go get them. He said, well, where in the book does it tell me that I have to have X amount of time?
That's how we feel, dude.
It doesn't say
if you're past what they're dude, get in the book.
Get in the book. Let's go. Right. And so I start doing all those things. I have multiple H&Is. I'm sponsoring guys. I work my steps with Mark. I pray, I meditate, I call my sponsor every day. That's our solution. Yep. That's it, right?
The new solution.
That is our new solution. Absolutely. Now I get introduced to the Knights, right? And I remember he's going, okay, you're going to go to this meeting at this church and, just show up. And I'm looking on the AA site. I'm like, why is this not listed in AA? I'm like, what kind of cult shit is this? Well, Mark told me to be there, so I'm going to be there. And I go there and my life just changes. What the Knights did for me is they taught me how to be a man. They taught me how to be a good father, a good husband, a productive member of society, a man who helps his community, not just the community of alcoholics and drug addicts out there that we need to help, but our community in general. You know what I mean? They taught me. I remember my first Christmas family experience of going to delivering these bikes and these gifts, and I'm 4 months sober, and these kids are crying, and it was a spiritual experience.
God.
First time I'd probably ever. That was like the first step into me being selfless.
Yeah.
And I go, wow, this feels pretty darn good.
Pretty cool.
This is pretty good, and now I chair that, and I organize all the holiday families and all that stuff, and it's just such a blessing. I mean, they taught me how to do AA and recovery. I mean, it's a 501 nonprofit or 501c3 nonprofit organization. So we're not AA, but we are a group of men, and it's an accountability group.
It's accountability. Yeah.
The Knights of the Round Table changed my life.
Yeah.
Completely.
I mean, your sobriety date is July 16th, 2018.
Correct.
Respect. Shout out.
Yeah.
Shout out to your wife.
Yeah.
Shout out to the kids.
Yeah.
I mean, shout out to them all. And, because the 12 steps gave us this amazing, beautiful life. And we know that it will always materialize if you work it.
Always.
Always, dude.
Without a doubt.
And we know this to be a fact. And that's why we have this podcast. That's why we're here today, just to bring on another example of visual proof that if you do the work, then the outcomes will happen.
It will.
Because that's God's part. And God never fails us when we suit up and show up for him.
Correct.
And we don't have to overcomplicate it. I'm going to be selfless. I'm just going to try to do the next right thing today.
Yep.
And everything that I do. And when I fail and I don't, I'm going to own it and tell you that I didn't.
Yeah, for sure.
And the consistency creates the psychic change.
Right.
And so in 2019, you become a professional in this industry.
Yep.
And what I love so much about your professional journey to being executive director and all the amazing things that you do is just like Ron and myself, you started out as a fucking PRM BHD.
Let's go, baby. Yeah.
You learned this business from the ground up. So why don't we take the last bit of time here to talk about your professional journey and ultimately how to get to Guiding Road? How can we support and how can we get the clients that meet your demographic and criteria so we can help at a greater capacity?
Absolutely. So, 2019, the only thing I wanted to do was work in this industry, right? It was, I mean, really from the
And you were
second I got
newly sober too, right?
Pretty newly.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
me too.
still a fucking new guy at that point, for sure. You
I just
know what
want
I
to
mean?
help people.
Yeah.
I just want to help
I'm a
people.
firm believer. So I had to shout out Miss Franz when incarcerated. She was the LISAC of the substance abuse program. I became a TA, if you will, prison job, right?
Yeah.
And the second day she had a meeting, the other two guys ended up quit. One got released, and I was the only inmate working in there. And she had a meeting. She said, "Hey, would you mind doing a group? Could you do a group?" I said, "Shit, I don't write rhymes. I'm like Lil Wayne. I freestyle everything I do. Let's go." Right. And I did that one group, and she saw something in me. She saw God speaking through me.
Right.
And she saw that I had a gift to be able to connect with others. And she turned that whole group over to me, from rules and regulations, certificates and hugs, 6-month class, work with thousands of guys. But what it did is it gave me the ability to teach something as the master. The power from the knowledge comes from the application. You have to understand how to apply it to get a goddamn result.
Yes.
But I was only 90 days sober when I did that. So I give people opportunities in early recovery because I know how much that meant to my journey, my recovery, shooing me in, boxing me into a recovery guy, putting me in a position to practice this shit every day. It was so huge and so critical.
I mean, and if you hadn't been given that opportunity, we wouldn't be sitting here today talking.
You're right.
If Calvary Healing Center had not given me the opportunity to work there after I had terrorized the place for years, I was a patient there numerous times, right? But they gave me an opportunity with some misgiving, very much like the doctor's opinion, with Bill Wilson. But with some misgiving, they gave me a key to the door and let me start working there. And I quickly worked my way up. And it was odd because when I got sober, I was already about 60% of the way through my master's degree to be a substance abuse counselor, right? But I wanted to get my foot in the door, make sure this is the field I wanted to be in, and I just progressed, and I got promotions and different stuff like that. I quickly became a unit support specialist, a detox case manager. I became the clinical lead there, and then became the director of outpatient services and finished my degree, got licensed as a therapist, and I'm at the director of outpatient services there for a minute. And then Mark North.
Pretty
shout
cool.
out to Mark North,
shout out
man.
Mark.
My guy, my brother.
Yeah.
He's one of my very best friends in this world, and I love him. I love him like a brother. Gave me a call one day, and he said, "Hey, let's do something." I said, "Yeah, let's do something." You know what I mean? And just because I know him and I, like our culture, our values, our morals, they
Mission,
all
vision,
align.
values line,
It's
yeah.
there, right? And so we went in and we started Guiding Road Recovery Center, and so we've been so blessed. Like we talk about it daily. Like God's just got us.
Yeah, I know.
It's so it's
It's because
I sit here and say it's weird, but it's like I should know by now that God's got me. But I still on a daily basis go, man, this is weird how like God's just got my back 24/7.
And sometimes that's why we need each other. Sometimes I got to remind you, be like, Bobby, hey, just keep doing your part. Look,
Right.
since 2018, dude, every outcome has worked out in your life. Why would this one be any different?
Right.
If you're doing your part, brother.
Right.
I had to tell Ron that. But people tell me that daily. Right. And I got to be reminded, even though I have the evidence, I have the data. It's not just a hope and some faith and some
It's
honesty.
not.
It's an experience that I've had consistently with every outcome for 7+ years now.
Absolutely.
Why would
it
this
is.
one be any different, dude?
Right. But
You
I'll
know?
question it because I'm an alcoholic. You know what I mean? I'll go, I don't know. Does God really got me? And then I go, whoa, God's got me.
He does.
You know?
And so you get some like-minded individuals who got the
Right.
same. And again, shout out Mark. If you want to hear his episode, it just posted last week, 2 episodes ago. Check it out. Phenomenal individual. Really, I always, I know we're all busy and we have kids and shit. We don't have time to have like friends.
Right.
But there's like yourself and him. Like sometimes I'm like, dude, if I like had friend time, like I would want to be your friend.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like,
The
I
feeling
like
is
you.
mutual. No,
You know?
Mark and I talk about it. We're like, man, Jason's rad, man. Like I fuck with Jason. He's cool, man.
If we had
So,
some time, we'd be friends. Like
we'll get there one day, my guy.
We
you know
will
what I
get
mean?
there.
We will. So
But the good news is we have the luxury problems where we don't have time because we're helping a lot of people. So pick it up there with Guiding Road. How can they get in touch with you guys? What's the admission process look like? What locations, what side of town are you on?
Right.
What criteria are you looking for? Drop some emails, some phone numbers. How
Okay.
can anyone in need that's looking for PHP, IOP, that's looking for any help in any way, shape, or form, because Guiding Road is the same as Desert Recovery Centers. It doesn't matter what insurance we're credentialed with. None of that shit matters. What matters is that you pick up the phone and you call.
Yep.
Because we will not get off the phone with you until we've landed you in a safe place that meets what you're looking for.
absolutely.
Right? And
Absolutely.
so why don't you kind of pick it up there?
Cool. So Guiding Road Recovery Center. So we are a substance use primary facility, right? So yes, we do treat co-occurring disorders, but we kind of stay in our lane. We know what we do well, and there's so many good mental health primary providers out here, like you guys at Desert Recovery, that we really stay in our lane. We are a substance use primary facility. You can get in touch with us at the phone number is 480-588-2328. guidingroad.com. Pretty simple, right? You can email me at bobby@guidingroad.com. You know, our admissions process looks like you give us a phone call. You'll talk to one of our admissions specialists. We'll go through, the criteria, really, like, do you meet the criteria for us?
For this level of care,
And if they don't, we don't just say goodbye.
Yeah.
We place every single person that calls our phone number, we place them in the appropriate place they should be. Maybe they are kind of appropriate for us, but this place is really gonna fit them right. We're gonna send them there. Right. We got to do right by the people that call our number. Right?
Exactly.
And so yeah, man, they come in. We got a beautiful facility. We got some beautiful houses. We do some really cool stuff over there. Our guys yesterday were at St. Mary's Food Bank Bingo Service.
Nice.
You know what I mean? Like we do some
Experiencing
really
the program
cool
in
stuff.
action, dude.
People are out and about. Our guys aren't, they're out and about every single day. They're doing stuff. They're going to Topgolf, going to St. Mary's, going to meetings, doing all this stuff. You know what I mean? And so really when we looked at it, we wanted a comprehensive program, and Mark North and I were very intentional with every decision that we made here. And what we did, and it's not rocket science. Mark and I sat down and said, what worked for us?
Yes.
Because we're miracles, just like you two are miracles. What worked for us? And then we're going to implement that into a treatment center, right? Obviously, we have to hit our other things. We hit on all our
Still
clinicals
business,
and our different modalities. You have to do that. But there's other parts to this. It's that holistic. How do we treat the person as a whole? So
And it comes from you and Mark leading with your hearts, right? Keeping client care number one. And just that one statement, because everyone's going to tell you if they don't meet our level of care, we're going to refer them out. Yeah, okay. Right. But do you really do that? Is it really for the client? Is that really what's the best? Right. And that's why we get along so well, because our vision and our mission, our values lines up just phenomenally. And that's why we've been able to seamlessly coordinate care with each other.
Absolutely.
And it's just been a blessing to get to know you, to have you on the show, to hear your journey, guys. For anyone who's suffering from substance abuse, mental health, we have a message of hope today with Bobby. We're talking 17 treatment centers, relapses while going to college, the delusional thought of being a functional alcoholic because he's going, all the things, all that is still true. And the facts are is that when we take action and we're the best versions of ourselves, centered in selflessness, we can do all the things. We can graduate from college. We can start as a PRN BHT. We can be executive directors. We can be great fathers and friends and husbands and all the things we get to do. But it's because we've centered in God's will, right?
Yes,
and
sir.
that's positive character traits. That's gratitude and that's selflessness, dude. And when we do our part and we lead with that, we get to experience amazing outcomes and have pretty cool moments just like we had today, man. So it's just been an honor. Guiding Road, if you're interested, if you have anyone who's suffering from mental health, substance abuse, IOP, PHP, housing, all the things, they got it. If you need anything, any help, please reach out to them. And Ron, if they want to reach out to Desert Recovery Centers, how could they get in touch with us?
Well, you can go to desertrecoverycenters.com, Instagram, Desert Recovery Centers, Jason and Sarah, Ron Alessi, Ronnie No Matter What. On Facebook, you can reach both of us and Desert Recovery Centers. And I just want to say in closing, man, I love nothing more than to see people that have that thing that I want. And I see it in your eyes, man. I see it when you talk about your personal journey in recovery and implementing all the things that you and Mark have done over there. And I just see you get excited because you can't fake that. You can't fake that look in your eyes and the tone of your voice. And it was great to have you here today. Thank you so much for sharing. It was awesome.
It's really about it. You can feel it and you can see it.
Man,
you can see it right. We can see it right away. You see people all the time. You're like,
you can't
okay,
fake
dude.
it.
All
You can't
right,
fake it.
yeah.
I'm doing good. No, you don't have to say you're doing good. I know you're doing good.
Yeah.
You lead with your
Life.
heart, And next time, production, Matt, shoe cam, dude. We need shoe cam
Shoe
from here
cam.
on out.
Let's
We got
go.
the Travis Scotts on.
Like,
We need
come
the
on.
shoe cam.
So-
We need a preemptive shoe cam shot on this. Can we get the shoe cam? And we'll just throw
We'll just go in
little
there.
shoe cam.
Go in there. Little shoe cam
Just
action.
real
There we
quick,
go.
I'm not a Nike guy. I'm not a single. I'm an Adidas guy. I like Adidas.
Okay.
Jason got me my first pair of Jordans. I love them. They're my daily drivers. I beat the hell out of them. I love them. Every time I see Mohammed, he's like, "Hey, brother, you want me to clean those for you?" Yeah. But if I was going to spend my money, that's the pair I want.
Oh,
Yeah, of
I want
course
the
you
Travis
want.
Scott.
Yeah, you do want the Travis Scotts.
Of course.
Yeah, of course you
They
would.
got some new ones coming out this year too,
they
man.
do. They do.
Ooh, man, it's a problem. But you know what? But I exchanged heroin for shoes, so we're doing okay.
We're doing pretty good. It's called cross addiction,
It
brother.
is. That's exactly what it's called.
I seen a hack on TikTok real quick where dude took regular Jordans, and took the swoosh off and put it on backwards. He did it himself.
It doesn't count.
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't count at all.
No, I hear you, brother.
Yeah.
Okay,
we hear
Matt
ya.
Kemp. But
That's good.
again, Bobby, thank you for your time today. Big shout out to your whole entire team, all the amazing things, all the alumni, the graduating clients over there, the ones you're currently helping, and just the blessings that come to you and the team, and just looking forward to being a part of your journey and helping clients together as we navigate this thing called life. So appreciate your time. And again, dude, thank you for being a message of hope and being an all-star in this community that's so desperately needed. So appreciate all the time. New episodes dropping.
Let's go.
If you or a loved one is desperately in need, Desert Recovery Center's Guiding Road. There's plenty of people here for the right reasons that want to help. We just need to know that you need that help. So pick up the phone and call and tune in. New episodes dropping every single week. We appreciate you. Go love somebody.